This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. NBC has an article and a video out there talking about how scientists are studying what they're calling the Parkinson'S belt. And they believe the disease is linked to chemicals. And of course, I have a little bit of a tone in my voice where I'm laughing slightly at this because I'm gonna play for you what aired on NBC. And this entire clip talks about these poor victims who have Parkinson's disease, which is not funny at all. And how they can't figure out why they have Parkinson's disease and why there's certain areas that they're calling the Parkinson's belt where more and more people are getting Parkinson's. But I'm giggling at the notion of the media telling us that scientists are trying to figure out when I'm not a scientist by any stretch. But I'm sure if somebody gave me a map where I could see exactly the locations that are getting the most chemtrails sprayed on them, then I could tell everybody why the Parkinson's belt exists in the first place. Just like I could tell everybody out there why so many people have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and why cancer rates are through the roof. And in fact, I could explain to people who don't think, which is the majority of the sheeple out there, as to why 100 years ago cancer didn't exist and why everybody knows 1 out of 3 people who likely have cancer or have died of cancer at this point in their lives. Well, that's because people are getting chemicals sprayed on them every single day and still do not realize it. So when NBC comes out with a clip and talks to you about a Parkinson's belt, of course, the solution we all know is coming, which I'll get into after the clip that I play for you here. But it's amazing that they can air something like this and they can say scientists are baffled. They can't figure out why all these things. Maybe it's because in some of these areas have factories, lots of factories nearby. Maybe that's why. You know, those smokestacks that really get out, steam out of the smokestacks. They tell you it's all chemicals because it fits into the agenda. They don't want you to actually realize that they're just spraying us daily and nightly with chemicals, putting it in our food, things like weed killer, putting it in our water. Thus, everybody is sick, dying, depressed, has anxiety. All, of course, from these people, not to mention those gigantic radiation towers that we're told are supposed to make our phones faster that one could find within every single mile across the United States of America now. So let me show you this clip in a second about Parkinson's. But let's keep in mind as they explain to you about this mysterious chemical. This mysterious chemical they're speaking of is likely barium and aluminum. That's right, barium and aluminum, toxic chemicals and metals, barium and aluminum. When put together, of course, bail, right? And of course, they don't want you to know this because this would blow up the entire operation that's currently going on. But unfortunately, the majority of people cannot think for themselves. And even propaganda like this, trying to explain why so many people have Parkinson's and so many people have Alzheimer's, the sheeple out there will still listen to the same people who are giving it to them. Listen.
Across the country, rock-steady boxing classes are packed.
I come almost every single day, and sometimes I come twice a day.
But it's a fitness class nobody hopes to have to join for people living with Parkinson's disease.
When the word got out about what we were doing, we had hundreds and hundreds of fighters.
Parkinson's causes tremors and muscle stiffness. Many patients end up in wheelchairs. And it's the fastest growing neurological disease in the world. 90,000 Americans will receive a Parkinson's diagnosis this year as the population ages. Nearly 1 million are already living with it.
I love to bake.
Marilyn Raimondi is one of them.
I was told it's a very slow-moving disease, but it's not going to go away.
Raimondi grew up in Pittsburgh at a time when factories made half the nation's steel, but belched pollutants into the air. Children close to the factories played in a cloud of smog and coal dust.
You'd see the snow, you'd see a layer of dust. And we had no idea what it was. We were just having fun.
Those children are now senior citizens, and many have Parkinson's.
We never realizing that this might be dangerous to us.
This area is a hotspot. According to a study published in Nature, the number of people with Parkinson's is among the highest in the country. In some places, more than quadruple the estimated national average. It's part of what some scientists are calling the Parkinson's belt, a series of regions in the U.S. with unusually high rates of the disease. Exactly why people get Parkinson's is still a big mystery. One study found that redheads could be more likely to get the disease, while others show smokers less so. And researchers don't know why, but they do think environmental factors play a major role in who gets Parkinson's. Exactly which and how much, still unclear.
If Parkinson's disease were just due to chance, you wouldn't expect to see parts of the country or parts of the world have higher rates than other parts.
Dr. Ray Dorsey is a professor of neurology at the University of Rochester. He believes chemicals used in manufacturing and agriculture trigger the disease, even if the factories and farms are long gone.
Pittsburgh's obviously had high levels of industrial air pollution. It has contaminated with this chemical that's been used for degreasing and dry cleaning called trichloroethylene.
Or TCE, a chemical still used today, though the EPA has proposed a rule to ban it.
Both scientifically and clinically.
Here in Pittsburgh, Dr. Tim Greenemeyer has undertaken groundbreaking research into the environmental factors that are thought to contribute to Parkinson's.
So what everybody's working on, including my lab, is trying to find out what's causing the underlying disease.
Dr. Greenemeyer has intimate knowledge of Parkinson's symptoms. He was diagnosed with it in 2021. Early in his career, he was researching a naturally occurring chemical used in pesticides called rotenone.
I was probably a little careless and exposed myself to rotenone in particularly bad ways. And my guess is that my laboratory work with making a model of Parkinson's disease led to my getting Parkinson's disease.
There is still much research to do, but his work helped lead to the discovery of another Parkinson's belt. In California's Central Valley, dubbed by some scientists and environmentalists as Parkinson's Alley. Here, widely used pesticides are strongly linked to Parkinson's.
There's clear-cut epidemiology showing the exact use of pesticides in terms of how many pounds per acre, which specific areas got treated with what pesticides, and what the incidence of Parkinson's disease is that correlates with that.
Scientists think genetics account for about a quarter to a third of the reason people get Parkinson's.
That means 70% is unexplained and presumably environmental.
The hope that learning about the disease could help prevent and treat it. But there is no cure, and doctors have been prescribing the same two-drug cocktail to mask the symptoms for decades. But it doesn't treat or stop the progress. And eventually, they stop working as well.
You lift 1 foot as you go down.
For now, exercise is key for slowing the progression of this debilitating diagnosis, doctors say.
I do it every day, and I don't veer from my regular schedule. You can make time for it if you want to, and I feel it's really helpful.
Come on, Adele.
And back at Rocksteady, it's the community that helps as well.
Here, you're not alone. Everybody's in the same boat. Everybody has Parkinson's, and this has become a family for me.
A family desperately in need of a cure. Yasmin.
So, of course, scientists are studying the Parkinson's belt, and you're suddenly going to hear more about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's on a day in and day out basis, because don't forget that big tech companies like Neuralink are beginning to roll out the brain chip interface, which is going to cure Parkinson's. I've talked about this, playing on people's heartstrings, right? You're going to see big tech companies, even like Synchron, which is run by Bezos and Bill Gates, or at least invested, they're the main investors in the company, which is specifically targeting Parkinson's disease. And how convenient that this type of technology will cure a disease that is being given to people from the same people who are coming up with the cure. Because that's how all this stuff works. And on a side note, because I know most of you always say things when I do a video on Bill Gates or one of these guys, I always read a comment where someone says, man, that's a punchable face, right? Man, oh, you see Bill Gates. I mean, everybody out there, your blood starts to boil, right? Dr. F, Bill, right? Well, for me personally, honestly, if I sat back and think, I'm like, man, I can't really choose somebody. But every time I come across his name, I'm like, yep, that's the guy. Jeff Bezos gets away a lot. He gets a free pass a lot because he doesn't show his face on TV as much as Gates and these other people in connection with the things that, we know are globalist agendas like the climate agenda, etc. But Bezos, don't make no mistake about it. If you haven't seen my video on Amazon and the connection between every New World Order agenda and Amazon enslaving you in your home, it's available on the website, and potentially I could upload it on this channel are hurting humanity in the future as a re-upload. But Bezos has his hand in it just as much as Gates, just as much as all of these billionaires. And every time I see that look on Jeff Bezos' face, ooh, my blood boils too. So Bezos and Gates, remember, are the counterparts to Elon Musk. And the reason that they're all out in the open so much is that they're using each to play each political party to make sure that they're on board with the tech. Stay divided amongst each other about ridiculous issues, constantly be down each other's throats about who they're going to vote for, but always be united when it comes to technology. And that's what Musk's role is. That's what Gates and Bezos are doing with the left and Musk is doing with the right. And for anybody out there that's not familiar, I mean, there's this notion of just looking up in the sky, right? One can look up in the sky and start saying, what is happening above our heads? Why is it that I wake up in this blue sky and by 10 o'clock in the morning, the sky starts to look like it's downtown Los Angeles? The sky is just a complete haze. These people just don't look up. And when you're always looking at your phone, of course, it's almost impossible to look up. And when you're always getting fed propaganda and being told people like me and you are crazy, well, then it's hard to actually wake these people up to what's going on. But if you're somebody out there that suffered from cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and by that I mean you either had something close to it yourself, maybe cancer, maybe you've survived it, or you've known somebody who's had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. These are frightening diseases. And it's probably bothered you to see a person you love have Alzheimer's. Well, guess who's giving it to them? This isn't naturally occurring. People aren't just getting Alzheimer's in the year 2024, whereas it didn't exist 100 years ago. Nobody gives you an explanation as to why, over the course of the last 100 years, with all the advancements in science and technology we're told about, that so many people are sick, right? So many people are sick. All these diseases keep popping up and they keep telling you to put stuff in your body, but nobody's getting cured from it because they're the ones who are giving it to you. People live better. They want you to be fearful of the measles in the 1700s. And they tell you at birth to put this in your kid. Then your kid's autistic 3 weeks later and you can't figure out why, but you're afraid. Oh, I don't want him to get the chicken pox or the smallpox. Oh, I got to get my kid a vitamin K shot, huh? Right? Putting this stuff in your child's body. And then what? Oh, your children all end up having something wrong with them, a nut allergy, and this and that, all things that were uncommon. But nobody can figure it out, right? Because nobody's thinking. Nobody's going, why didn't nobody have allergy problems in the 50s and 60s like now every kid has an allergy? Nobody's saying, why does everybody have cancer? Where did it come from? Oh, well, scientists are trying to figure it out. Oh, yeah, are they? Are they? The scientists that you trust who work for the government, the ones who are causing this? And of course, this is problem, reaction, solution as well. Right? We dump soft metals on you, you get cancer, you get Alzheimer's, you die, but eventually we'll come in with the cure. You've got Parkinson's, you've got Alzheimer's, we've got a brain chip. Come on down, we'll put it right in your brain for free. For free. For free. Because the government always gives you good things for free, right? They certainly were loving trying to give you a shot for free a few years ago, and people were so hesitant then that they were actually bribing you, trying to give you gift cards to Denny's so that you would poison your own body. And some people were so dumb that they actually did. So if you can't connect the dots, you can't figure it out, look up. Look above you. It's pretty easy to see. It's pretty easy to use basic thought and say to yourself, why, if we're so smart now, right? They tell us we're so advanced. Oh, people were so dumb back then. We're evolving, right? We're evolving so much so we can't figure out what a man and a woman is. But we're evolving so much so with technology that we have to go forward with AI. Oh, but by the way, all these diseases just keep popping up and we can't figure out what it is yet, right? Well, I can figure out what it is because I look up and I look on the label of processed foods. And then I see exactly what it is. And for anybody out there that's wondering what exactly is inside of these things that are getting sprayed at us, because it's clearly not water vapor. Because water vapor wouldn't sit up in the sky for 10 hours. Water would dissolve. You probably wouldn't even see it in the first place up in the sky, right? This white smoke sitting up in the sky. And certainly we have people that are so dumb, they actually think that they're clouds. But let me play for you a whistleblower, military doctor. Okay, this is a doctor because I'm playing this specific clip because, of course, the common person out there always wants their information from a doctor. But then when the doctor, of course, counteracts what they want to believe, then they just discredit the doctor like we saw with the outbreak. But this doctor talks about things like barium, human plasma, microviruses, nanosilicon particles, poisonous aerosols that are getting dumped on us. And how does he know? Well, because he was treating people who were getting sick, who were actually flying these planes on a military base. Then, of course, we have people who took what was coming down from the sky because there was particles on cars, etc., and they were examining it. Then we even had people who took from the direct canisters themselves and examined it. And it told us that it was barium and aluminum. It was not water. But all the government has to do is come out and tell you that it is water with no evidence whatsoever. And the sheeple have been trained, of course, to think that we're all crazy, that the government would never try to kill them. But then they can't explain why everybody's so sick, right? Here he is talking about it.
And chemtrails, by the way, barium salts are in chemtrails. They are 10,000 times more toxic to your nervous system than lead. They contain mycobacteria, viruses, Pseudomonas florensis bacteria, human plasma. Wonder what human plasma is doing in chemtrails. And this is not by conjecture. I did a lot of research before I'd ever say this, but these chemtrails are nasty. And there's 3 reasons for chemtrails. The first is and I talked to my NSA buddies at Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, and Buckley, where I was actually their doctor taking care of the pilots flying and spraying the chemtrails. So I know it's real. If anybody says it's not real, they're full of it. Okay, because I'm a whistleblower. On the inside, it's not open for discussion. And my NSA buddies told me, 95% of them told me they were up there trying to spray to reflect the sun out to stop global warming. So most of them are dumb enough to believe that garbage. Okay? And also in the chemtrails, and there's a link directly that Jeff Francis found out, and I'm going to have Dr. Staninger and Dr. Carjou on in about a week on my radio show. And I've done some investigations, and there's very solid evidence now that Morgellons is caused by a silicon-based nanomachine life form that does not originate on planet Earth. Is that not interesting? This is a silicon-based life form that is intelligent like bees or ants, and it fights back. Conversion of the atmosphere into a plasma for weather modification, geotectonic warfare, scalar mind control technologies, the woodpecker, which has been discovered back in the 70s, HARP, the Tetris system in the United Kingdom, Gwen towers in the United States, and the Iridium satellite system connected to the cell towers and the smart highways is all based on not only sending out a signal to track you, but Nokia, which is one of the leading cell companies, has figured out a new way to cut down the need for increasing the amount of signal by 3 to 5 times as many cell phones in the same signal area by beaming the signal directly to you. But they can also, besides the cell signal, they can actually have a biocoded signal to your DNA to affect your physiology and insert thoughts into your mind.
So again, they put this stuff out, right? They're telling you about Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease, and we don't know what the problem is. Then they point to things like hazardous waste. Hey, there's a toxic, there's a chemical plant down there. Well, the chemical plant's above your head. The chemical plant is the company like Kellogg's who's producing your food. That's what has occurred, right? That's what's occurred, and that's what I always blame the older generations for. If I was going to point blame at how we've gotten to this point. It's the whole boom of the American dream. Back then, you could bag groceries and become a homeowner, right? Back in the 60s and 70s. That's because they were setting all of this up. And instead of people farming their own food, they started just, there's a grocery store. Oh, I could trust the grocery store, right? They didn't realize that all the grocery stores were controlled by the same companies, right? The same chemical companies, etc. And they were just loving the fact that they could get cars and they could live like this. And this whole thing got set up around us. And now none of us know how to farm, right? I mean, sure, we could farm, we could plant things, but I'm talking about the majority of society, right? Majority of people don't have access to a farm, can't afford to buy land for a farm. They've made that pretty impossible. And of course, we know that the government is forcing Monsanto dirt onto the majority, onto everybody, pretty much. They're making it illegal to farm without using their chemically altered dirt to soil, right? So that you get all this poisoned food anyway. So not only, making you farm with their dirt, but at the same time you have these crops that you're growing, unless you have a giant wall, greenhouse above your farm, they're still hitting your farm with all the chemicals from the sky anyway, right? And the older generations allowed this to get set up because they got spoiled. And then they passed it on, and then we were all told, have a useful life, go sit in a cubicle. What matters is how much money you make, go to college. Nobody talked about the basic fundamentals of life. Eating, drinking water, surviving, learning how to take care of yourself and your family on your own, right? We're all dependent now on the government. We've all allowed ourselves to. I mean, a lot of us, like me, we're born into it, right? We were born into, oh, this is our parents were feeding us this way. They weren't teaching us these things. We got pushed into the school system. We got pushed into college. Then you look around, you go, huh? All right, I went to college. Now what? Oh, well, you go sit at a desk. Oh, I go sit at a desk. Well, this doesn't feel very fulfilling, right? Then you realize, man, I'm just sitting at a desk so I could go home and have barely have enough money to actually, to go and buy groceries, right? Wouldn't it be better if I just, farmed myself? And then maybe I wouldn't even have to be in the matrix. But how would you pay your property? All right, we let them set this up, right? But at the same time as letting them set all this up, we're now allowing them to dump chemicals on us, right? And look, we could all sit here and we could say, how do we reverse this? How do we stop this from going any further? The problem is that the military are the ones spraying us, and the military is not run by the government because the government isn't a government. It's run by corporations. So we have a military that works for the corporations, right? That's what people don't realize. The military works for the Bezoses of the world. They work for the Gates and the Musks of the world. They own the military, not the citizens. They don't work for the citizens. All you could hope for is that the people in the military would grow a conscience and they'd say, hey, but they're all under heavy mind control. They believe what they're doing, just like the Democratic people in this country believe that what's going on in the sky is just water vapor. So do these people. They don't actually believe anything that we say, and they're not going to investigate for themselves. And don't forget, the majority of these people are super soldiers anyway. They're gone through so much trauma-based mind control to be put in these positions to fly the planes that dump the chemtrails anyway. They're never going to say boo about it until they get sick, and then the doctor actually starts treating their symptoms and realizes what they're around and what's in their blood when he takes blood samples and sees some of these chemicals in there and tries to figure out why they have this in their blood, why they're exposed to this. Oh, because this is what they're doing every day. They're not flying around dumping water vapor over you. They're not watering your crops, okay? And what do people think? Yeah, it's water vapor. Oh, is the government just dumping water from the sky? I guess we wouldn't have any droughts anymore then, right? I mean, it's just basic common sense logic, which doesn't exist anymore. So they put stuff like this out, and they know people are so dumb. Everyone looks and they're like, the Parkinson'S belt. Oh my goodness, did you hear about the Parkinson'S belt? And you just put your palm on your face and you go, the Parkinson'S belt. Well, why don't you give us a military map so we could see where they spray the most chemtrails? And I guarantee you it'll probably line up in those specific places, right? But the entire map of the United States should just be blue when they show you that map of the Parkinson'S belt, because they're dumping it everywhere. I mean, the only places that you'll see, right, where there's not a lot of Parkinson's is because there's not a lot of people living there, right? Which would be like in the middle of nowhere, Montana, the middle of nowhere, Nevada. Oh, right, because they're not going to waste time dumping chemtrails every hour in those locations because there aren't people there. Now, they'll still dump them in those spots because I've been in the middle of nowhere and seen chemtrails getting dumped in the middle of the wilderness, and I just laugh. Like, it's unbelievable. They won't miss a spot. They'll make sure they don't miss a spot, but they may not hit it as heavy as they hit other locations, which is true. They'll hit overpopulated places more often. So if you're somewhere that's overpopulated, you're going to see it way more often, right? Coasts, you'll see. I mean, people go to the beach still, right? I don't know. Maybe they wear masks. I don't know if they still go. But, you think you could go to the beach and be free of those things? No. You think you could go to a national park and be free? No. You can't be free from it because the government won't allow you to be free from it. So what they're doing is causing us to be sicker and sicker and sicker. And they don't want you to actually think. And it's amazing that nobody out there actually does think and maybe just says, hey, maybe some of these people are right about what's getting dumped in the sky, because I don't see blue skies anymore. And I don't like it, right? Because everybody likes blue skies. I mean, even libs, right? They like blue skies. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that the mind control works so easy on them because they're, suckers. That's what they are. They're suckers. And it's on them for being suckers. It's pathetic. But, you build up a narcissist, you tell them they're always right, then you give them this information, and then they think that people like us are just trying to outsmart them, or like, they think they know something that we don't. That's really part of the problem. Instead of them just going, hey, I don't care what we're all getting sick. Something's wrong here. If we're advanced in technology, but they hear the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what they hear. They hear like, oh, there's going to be a cure for cancer. There's going to be a cure for Alzheimer's. So they're thinking that these people are working hard for that. They don't realize that they're the ones who have caused the problem, and they have the solution for the problem, which is getting this tech into your body and say, oh, wow, you can live longer. You won't get cancer anymore. Yeah, you won't be human anymore. So enjoy that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Parkinson'S belt. I don't know. Can you figure out what's causing it? I can. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.